As India and now China are seemingly not backing off, it appears the two are pushing their military to limits in the Galwan Valley in Ladakh region. While the China's mouthpiece Global Times News says it is wishful thinking to India to call for US aid. Here we can see clearly China's mouthpiece news is afraid of India. From offensive to defensive, the Global Times has just turned in few weeks. As already the Indian allies are pouring in their support to India, now they are sending military equipments and accepting India's request for more military equipments. As the tensions rising every day, the peace talk is failing every day. In a significant move, Indian allies are lining up to send from military equipments to jets for India. Its old ally Russia has said okay to deliver all the military equipments daily basis worth $1 billion. Israel to send land-to-air defense system, France to send 4 to 6 Rafale jets, while US already said many details about India and China's tension and stretched their full support to India. Now they are sending precious artillery rounds to India, and the US have already been helping India with its vital intelligence and satellite imagery that gives planning clarities on India-China border situations. The India's inventory also has M777s, which are good at mountain warfares. Also, the US has asked India to give a list whatever India wanted in earliest possible to make US assist India. Meanwhile, India and Japan are doing military exercises near the Malacca Strait with Indian Navy ships and 2 Japanese Navy ships. This might be a small exercise, but it comes at the time and the background that India and China's border tensions are rising. This shows how fast India can pull its allies closer to India in critical situations. And the date of the delivery of the Rafale jets from France to India, which brings more strength to Indian military. The 4 to 6 jets will land in Ambala in Haryana state of India. Instead, pulling towards friendships between China and India, China is pushing India away. We don't know what conditions does China keeps and what does India keeps, as both governments does not reveal anything for now. But India has moved closer to its allies US, Japan, Australia, France and Israel. China's foreign policy is focused only on US. It is getting away from India, and day by day the Ladakh tension is pushing India towards its allies. It is very bad for China, according to the Al Jazeera news. No doubt India has a huge allies against China, but also the news article says India might face China on the side and Pakistan on another side, and maybe Nepal at the other side in the battlefront, if it happens. India has already said it is fully ready to counter anything from China and closely watching Pakistan also. So what do you think of India's allies pouring in support for India? Can China stand against India's allies? Does China also collect its axis, or will it use its military bases in small countries to counter India?
India and South Korea's bilateral trade has gone beyond $16 billion. In New Delhi, India and South Korea are carrying out a review of their free trade agreement to further boost the bilateral trade investments, a senior Commerce Ministry officials of India said. The agreement, officially dubbed as the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement or the CEPA, between the two countries was implemented in January 2010. Both the sides have constituted subgroups on the issues such as goods, services, investments, and rules of origin. Reviews on to see how we can improve the utilization of this pact. The discussions are underway, the officials said, and also they added, we are also looking at how to trade between the countries have behaved since the implementations. Exporters body FAEO, the Federation of Indian Export Organization, said that there is a huge scope of increasing trade and investment with South Korea. We can look at increasing exports of marine products and other commodities. Besides, huge investment opportunities are there for South Korean companies in India. FAO Director General Ajay Sahai said. The bilateral trade between the countries stood at USD $16.83 billion in 2016 to 17, and the trade is in favor of South Korea. India's import during the last fiscal year is $12.59 billion, while exports were only $4.24 billion. India has used $2.26 billion of foreign direct investment from South Korea between March 2000 and April 2017. Under a free trade agreement, the duties on the most of the products traded between the countries either eliminated or reduced sharply. And also, India-South Korea bilateral trade will impact China in a backbone of it, while China has investing more on India and India is looking at other East Asian countries. So what do you think of India and South Korea bilateral trade are boosting more and more year by year? Will it really impact the Chinese market investing in India, or it will create more bilateral trade between India and South Korea?
Ties with Israel are getting stronger and stronger under Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, may be said to become the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Israel, but his government has walked the extra mile in the past 3 years to engage with Palestine and all other Arab nations, along with Iran as part of the diplomatic balancing. The Indian government was widely expected to expand its ties with Israel, but it has taken a care to attach the equal importance to relations with West Asia and North Africa, commonly referred to as Arab nations. The Prime Minister visits to Israel from July 4 to 6 is expected to open up the scope of wider engagement across agriculture, water, startups, and IT sectors, besides expanding the traditional areas of counter-terrorism and defense partnerships. Modi is likely to address a session with the Israeli CEO to attract investments to India. The first such Indo-Israeli exercise is going to happen. Apart from the deliverables, the visit will of course have a huge symbolic significance as well. Engagement with West Asia received momentum after the government assumed charge, and Modi's visit to United Arab Emirates in August 2015 provoked a game-changer of sorts. From expanding counter-terror partnership to establishing defense manufacturing ties to a commitment of $75 billion for India's infrastructure sector. Modi's government engagement with Arab world and the Iran is based on 5 important pillars: safety of expatriates, securing energy resource, attracting investments, expanding counter-terror or security partnerships, and connectivity corridors. India's counter-terror narratives have found responses and resonance with key Gulf players, some of whom have been traditional friends of Pakistan but supported India's decision to carry out cross-border terror strikes after the attack on an Indian camp in Uri. From hosting both Abu Dhabi Crown Prince, including as the Republic Day chief guest in 2016, and Egyptian presidents to the ruler of the Qatar and Syrian deputy prime minister and the top Jordanian leaders to Modi's visit to Saudi Arabia and Iran. West Asia has been a key area for India's regimes of foreign policy outreach. India expects to host the Saudi Arabian monarch and Jordan's king later this year, as well as the Iranian president in the future. Strategic affairs analysts pointed out that most leaders from West Asia and North Africa are increasingly undertaking standalone trips to India, excluding Pakistan. The de-hyphenations comes in drop of India's growth economic profile and growing threats from terror groups. Besides, during the past 1.5 years, the Vice President has visited some of the North African countries, and ministers from the Gulf and Iran have been regularly visiting India since 2015. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj of India made a number of trips to a volatile Gulf region, and India established itself as a responder in distress when it rescued not only its nationals but other nations as well as from war-torn Yemen. Junior External Affairs Minister M.J. Akbar, using his knowledge and the contacts in West Asia, has been able to strike a rapport with leaders in the region and even made visits to Syria and Iraq. Currently, though, the government faces a challenging and increasingly volatile West Asia following the decision of the 4 countries to sever ties with Qatar. Last month, India sought to elevate its ties with Palestine during the visit of President Mahmoud Abbas by reinforcing its principled stand on its two-state solution and offering support for a slew of capacity-building projects, in keeping with government's diplomatic balancing act ahead of the Prime Minister's Israel trip. Earlier in 2015, President Pranab Mukherjee of India visited both Israel and Palestine during the same trip. Last year, India and Palestine also held their first ever joint commission to identify specific areas of cooperation. Significantly, India's tie with Israel expanded simultaneously with the expansion of its partnership with the Arab world during the past 2 decades. And during this trip to Israel, Modi and the leadership there are expected to discuss the issue of negotiation between Palestinians and Israelis for lasting solutions to their protracted crisis. So what do you think of Israel's closeness to India in the defense and also with IT and the startup sectors? Will this boom India's Make in India reform, or this will be just a marketing technique of India? Post your comments below, and if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow us in social networks and subscribe to our channel. And thanks for watching. This is WC Daily. Think big, think different. Bye.